My name is Harvey Milk, and I'm here to recruit you. I've been saying this one for years. It's a political joke. I can't help it. I've got to tell it. I've never been able to talk to this many people before, so if I tell you nothing else, you may be able to go home laughing a bit. The ocean liner was going across the ocean, and it sank. And there was one little piece of wood floating, and 3 people swam to it, and they realized only one person could hold on to it. So they had a little debate about which was the person. It so happened that the 3 people were the Pope, the President, and Mayor Daley. The Pope said he was titular head of one of the greatest religions of the world, and he was spiritual advisor to many, many millions, and he went on and pontificated, and they thought it was a good argument. Then the President said he was leader of the largest and most powerful nation of the world. What takes place in this country affects the whole world, and they thought that was a good argument. And Mayor Daley said he was mayor of the backbone of the United States, and what took place in Chicago affected the world, and what took place in the Archdiocese of Chicago affected Catholicism, and they thought that was a good argument. So they did it the Democratic way and voted, and Daley won, 7-2.
About 6 years ago, Anita Bryant, in her Speaking to God, said that the drought in California was because of the gay people. On November 9th, the day after I got elected, it started to rain. On the day I got sworn in, we walked to City Hall, and it was kind of nice. And as soon as I said the word I do, it started to rain again. It's been raining since then, and the people of San Francisco figure the only way to stop it is to do a recall petition. That's the local joke. So much for that. Why are we here? Why are gay people here? And what's happening? What's happening to me is the antithesis of what you read about in the papers and what you hear about on the radio. You hear about and read about this movement to the right, that we must band together and fight back this movement to the right. And I'm here to go ahead and say what you hear and read is what they want you to think. The major media in this country has talked about the movement to the right, so the legislators think that there is indeed a movement to the right, and that Congress and the legislators and the city councils will start to move to the right the way the major media want them. So they keep on talking about this movement to the right.
So let's look at 1977 and see if there was indeed a move to the right. In 1977, gay people had their rights taken away from them in Miami. But you must remember that in the week before Miami and the week after that, the word homosexual or gay appeared in every single newspaper in this nation in articles both pro and con, in every radio station, in every TV station, in every household. For the first time in the history of the world, everybody was talking about it, good or bad. Unless you have dialogue, unless you open the walls of dialogue, you can never reach to change people's opinion. In those 2 weeks, more good and bad about the word homosexual and gay was written than probably in the history of mankind. Once you have dialogue starting, you know you can break down prejudice. In 1977, we saw a dialogue start. In 1977, we saw a gay person elected in San Francisco. In 1977, we saw the state of Mississippi decriminalize marijuana. In 1977, we saw the Convention of Conventions in Houston. And I want to know where the movement to the right is happening.
What that is a record of what happened last year. What we must do is make sure that 1978 continues the movement that is really happening that the media don't want you to know about. That is the movement to the left. It's up to CDC to put the pressures on Sacramento, but to break down the walls and the barriers so the movement to the left continues and progress continues in the nation. We have before us coming up several issues we must speak out on. Probably the most important issue outside the Briggs, which we will come to, but we do know what will take place this June. We know there's an issue on the ballot called Jarvis Gone. We hear the taxpayers talk about it on both sides, but what you don't hear is that it's probably the most racist issue on the ballot in a long time. We must not talk away from it. We must not allow them to talk about the money it's going to save, because look at who's going to save the money and look at who's going to get hurt.
We also have another issue that we've started in some of the North counties, and I hope some of the South counties it continues. In San Francisco elections, we're asking, at least we hope to ask, that the U.S. government put pressure on the closing of the South African consulate. That must happen. There is a major difference between an embassy in Washington, which is a diplomatic bureau, and a consulate in major cities. A consulate is there for one reason only, to promote business, economic gains, tourism, investment. And every time you have business going to South Africa, you're promoting a regime that's offensive. In the city of San Francisco, if everyone of 51% of that city were to go to South Africa, they would be treated as second-class citizens. That is an offense to the people of San Francisco, and I hope all my colleagues up there will take every step we can to close down that consulate and hope that people in other parts of the state follow us in that lead. The battles must be started someplace, and CDC is the great place to start battles. I know we are pressed for time, so I'm going to cover just one more little point. That is to understand why it is important that gay people run for office and that gay people get elected. I know there are many people in this room who are running for Central Committee who are gay. I encourage you. There's a major reason why. If my non-gay friends and supporters in the room understand it, they'll probably understand why I've run so often before I finally made it. You see, right now, there's a convention about the gay governor. Is he speaking out enough? Is he strong enough for gay rights? And there is controversy, and for us to say it is not would be foolish. Some people are satisfied, and some people are not.
You see, there is a major difference, and that remains a vital difference, between a friend and a gay person. A friend in an office and a gay person in an office. Gay people have been slandered nationwide. We've been tarred and we've been brushed with the picture of pornography. In Dade County, we were accused of child molestation. It's not enough anymore to just have a friend represent us, no matter how good that friend may be. The black community has made up its mind to that a long time ago, that the myths against blacks can only be dispelled by electing black leaders, so that the black community could be judged by the leaders and not by the myths or the black criminals. The Spanish community must not be judged by the Latin criminals or myths. The Asian community must not be judged by the Asian criminals or myths. The Italian community must not be judged by the mafia myths. And the time has come when the gay community must not be judged by our criminals and myths.
Like every other group, we must be judged by our leaders and by those who are themselves gay, those who are visible. For invisible, we remain in limbo, a myth, a person with no parents, no brothers, no sisters, no friends who are straight, no important positions in employment. A tenth of the nation supposedly composed of stereotypes that would be seducers of children, and no offense meant to the stereotypes. But today, the black community is not judged by its friends, but by its black legislators and leaders, and we must give people the chance to judge us by our leaders and legislators. A gay person in office can set a tone, can command respect not only from the larger community, but from the young people in our own community who need both examples and hope.